Welcome, everybody. This is the first room. I am so excited. I'm so excited to be doing this. This is the first room for conscious leaders in business, and it's a space that I have decided to open and nurture for many reasons, which I'll be sharing with you. This is Hannah speaking. My name is Hannah Cremona. I'm a business strategist and mindset mentor for conscious business owners and CEOs. I'm currently based in Malta. When I'm not in Malta, I'll be in Nepal, where my husband is from and my baby to be, my baby on the way. I work with solo entrepreneurs who wish to expand their work and attract clients across the globe sustainably and authentically. I also work with business owners and organizations on a personal and professional level, but also for training and coaching their staff. So, conscious leaders in business. Why? Why? This came about as I was asking myself, what is it that I truly want to create in 2023? What is the impact that I want to have? What is the kind of work I want to be doing? Who do I want to be surrounded by? And after answering these questions, it was well done. We also have the application crashing on my phone. Am I audible?
You are now again.
Thank
You are now.
Thank you.
I raced off to check my internet to see, was it me?
Okay, so my app is crashing. This is why we have you ladies here as speakers so that you can pick up in case something happens. We're in it together. We're in it together. So I was saying why conscious leaders in business, and it was really just asking myself, who do I want to be? What do I want to create? What is the impact I want to have in 2023? So it was really about serving. It was really about community. I think I've been hearing and seeing and experiencing myself so much loneliness in the entrepreneurship field. A lot of people who isolate, who stay by themselves. It can feel very daunting. It can feel very lonely. And another thing I've noticed is that we tend to create these little bubbles of people, whether that be on a specific platform or whether that be with a specific group of people. And what I really want and where I find the biggest learning curves is when I am actually outside of my bubbles. When I am interacting with people across different industries that have different businesses, that have different backgrounds, that have different expertise, because this is when we can really activate our creative thinking. So, this is how the space was really born. Um, Conscious leadership, conscious leaders in business, where we can connect as a space of networking and building relationships, where we can learn from one another to really activate that creative and strategic thinking outside of our bubbles. And a space, more importantly, where we are allowed to be. And this for me has a bigger meaning than I can put in words right now, but to just be yourself, to speak your truth, to speak your opinions. I have experienced on so many levels where these kind of conversations happen behind closed doors. Enough with that. Let's bring them to the forefront. Let's invite more people into the conversation. Let's have this conversation with more people, whether that be business related, leadership related, personal development, spirituality, and business. We're bringing all of it in because it's all of us that we're bringing into our business. So this is really a space that is my intention is obviously to keep it always a safe, non-judgmental space as much as possible, and we welcome all of you in it to share. So I'm seeing a lot of familiar faces. We have some women from the Women Thrive Summit, which is happening in March. Speakers for the 2023. We also have Claudia, who was a speaker in 2022, I believe. Welcome, everybody. So the topic of today is conscious leadership. What does conscious leadership mean to you? And how do you embody this in your business? Or how do you wish to embody this further in your business? And I'd like to pass the mic to whoever would like to take that up. Maybe you can start with a quick introduction of yourself and go into the topic. Who would like to take the floor?
I will if you want, Hannah.
Go for it,
So
Karen.
hi, I'm Karen from Sydney, Australia, and I'm a women's empowerment expert specialising in loss and trauma, and also a multi-award winning author from goodness me. And I'm also a CPA accountant still in the corporate world who actually fell in love with self-development. So I actually understand the importance of conscious leadership because I've had some crappy managers who are definitely all about just themselves. But I've also had some really amazing managers who I would classify as conscious leaders. You know, they show up with integrity and they show up with, supporting the people in the organisation, being really inclusive approach and being open with their staff. And so I think when you're in an entrepreneurship, it's more about you being who you are, being true to yourself, being honest and with your clients, showing integrity with your clients, and just in even encouraging collaboration with your clients so that you're working to find out what it is that they want, not necessarily what we think they want. So for me, that's how I see, especially in business, um, the conscious leadership.
I'm curious actually when you speak about the integrity part, like what does this look like in a corporate setting? Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, sure. In a corporate setting, it's obviously different from when you're actually in your own business as an entrepreneur. But in a corporate, a lot of managers tend to be um, like covering their own asses, I suppose is how you would put it. So they're not actually looking after their staff members or even sometimes not even the company to the best angle. They're all about themselves. So I think when you're doing things with integrity, you're doing things that is for the best for the company as well as yes, you can try to prove that you're a good manager and that you're good at your job, but not to the detriment of the other staff members, which some managers would do in a corporate. It's all about, especially if they've got shares, in the company or depend on who they are in the company. But, my current job that I currently work at, I've been there like 11 years as well as building my business on the outside. And the manager there, the CEO, and that he's just absolutely amazing. Like he collaborates with the staff, he supports the staff all the way through. If there's a problem, it's an open door policy so people can just go in and ask questions. Whereas a lot of managers in the corporate world will have their door closed, and they'll only be the sort of person who um, don't even sort of tell you when you do a good job, but only tell you when you do a shitty job. So you never know where you stand. So having someone with integrity who will tell you when you've done something wrong, but also give you a pat on the back when you've done a good job. And I think you need that also in when you're an entrepreneur as well too. Is like as you said, when you're quite alone doing things yourself, you don't have that communication with people to say you're doing a great job. And I think you actually need that as well to sort of feel good about what you're doing.
Thank you, Karen. I love that. There are some things that you mentioned actually, and the first one being where people tend to cover their own asses and think about their and act in their own interest. And for me, this is one of the qualities or what I believe conscious leadership is very intentional and purpose driven. It's not so much about me, but it's about we, right? So for me, like creating this space was not so much about what can I get from it, but what can we as a community in a collaborative sense get out of it? What are our shared common interests? What are our shared common goals? And how can everybody who participates and enters the space benefit from that? So like for me that really strung a bell, and certain qualities that I just want to repeat that you mentioned: supportive, collaborative, where you have this open door policy versus well, obviously the opposite would be a closed door policy. And this brings up those experiences I've had on the managers or directors or whatnot that implemented a sort of fear-based dictatorship rather than a very supportive, empowering role where, like, if I needed help or I needed support, I can go and speak to them and say, hey, I'm struggling in this area. Can I get your insights? Can I get your feedback? What would you do if you were in my position? How would you handle or navigate these situations? And then, like, that was a very empowering sort of environment to be in versus the, oh my God, you're going to scold me because I don't know what to do.
Exactly. Exactly. And very much being, people who listen and communicate openly and honestly rather than just, oh, you just sort it out, you just work it out. And managers who will listen to even what's going on in your personal life if you're struggling to help support you. And it is very much, as you said, it's a we, not a I.
Beautiful. I love that. And maybe you want to share quickly on how you would embody this in your own business.
Yeah, so in my business, it's very much because I'm a coach. It's about the other person. We have to leave ourselves out of it. We have to listen to what the client wants and basically listen to the words that they're saying. Because quite often, if we're working with a coach, sometimes the coach will actually just go in there and say, okay, this is what you need. But what you really need to do is listen to your client and ask them what they need. So it's very important because otherwise they're going to go away without getting the support that they actually came to you for. So I believe a coach should listen more than actually pass on their opinions. That's how I kind of tend to work with people.
Yeah. Listen to the needs, listen to your clients, listen to the undertones. This is where we can really sort of support, right? I love that, Karen. Thank you so much for sharing. And just for the
You're
sake
welcome.
of resetting the room, we're talking about conscious leadership in business. What does this mean to you, and how do you embody this in your business? Who's next? Who would like to take the stage?
I would like to.
Go ahead, Tina.
My name is Tina Kapp Kallera. I'm based in New Zealand and I am a fempreneur pathfinder. I help women to become embodied and return to their feminine essence and weave that through their businesses. And conscious leadership to me brings consciousness first and foremost back to myself. If I'm conscious of how I am in this world, how I am doing business, how I'm interacting with people, that is a constant thriving to be a better person and to really work with energetics. And I have a lot of clients who are women, and coming home to themselves and becoming conscious of what they really want and what they don't want, more importantly, is part of having a conscious dialogue in business. And I have spent 2.5 decades in very toxic corporate environments, and Karen touched on that beautifully, where there is not a lot of room to be vulnerable and to be open. And I think the beauty of um, us coming together, it's not the lone wolf anymore and the dog eat dog world, because we've come to a realization that we can do so much more when we consciously work together. And I think women in particular have been a bit shying away from. We've been very competitive in the workplace, where people hold their cards very close to their chest. And luckily, over the last, especially 4 or 5 years, I've seen changes happening. And I can speak from New Zealand only because I've been out of Europe, where I'm originally from, for a while. But it's really nice that people talk about consciousness, because that is a holistic view on everything that there is in business. It's the environment, it's how you interact with people, it's the opportunities to give them, and also conscious decision making, not just for the individual, for the organization, and for our environment. So that's kind of the angle that I come into with consciousness. And I can pass the mic back.
Oh, thank you, Tina. I love that. There's a lot that you said that I have written in my notes. for what I believe conscious leadership is, and that is really that self-awareness, that self-consciousness. How are we showing up in the space? How are we leading? How are we taking decisions? From what drive, right? Is it that how can I make a quick buck, or how can I make a sale, versus how can I serve? And you mentioned something about vulnerability and openness. I'm going to share a really quick story. Actually, yesterday I was having my own little personal, let's call it a shit show. And invited, I was invited into a space where another woman hopefully will be joining us, and she's created like monthly women's circles. And I had no idea what I was doing, why I was showing up, but somehow I felt called to be there. And there I was, tears and all, ugly crying, and and just expressing myself into this space, and then suddenly finding so much freedom, so much empowerment, so much space to be whoever I was. And I left really empowered, and actually serving other women in the group. So it just, yes to more of this, right? Yes to more of these spaces, yes to more of collaboration, because I think together we can really go further.
Yes. And the word that I always use is alignment. It has to be in alignment, not just
Yes.
with my value and my integrity, also with the other individual or individuals that I work with. And I love the fact that you mentioned women's circles and vulnerability, because I think we have, for such a long time, decided that we have a personal life over here, and then there's our corporate world, and the two of them were mutually exclusive, and we
Yes.
denied parts of ourselves fully in business. So for me, conscious leadership and conscious business, to me, in my space, is coming as all of me. And that includes my spiritual side, whatever that looks like for an individual person. But we cannot delineate between work and life, and they talk about work-life balance, and I think it's an outdated concept, not what it means, but there's so many different aspects that we have come to integrate and what that means to us. And I don't want to be working somewhere where I have to be putting on a mask. I've done this in a business for way too long, at the detriment of my mental health. And this is the conscious leadership that puts value on that, that somebody feels comfortable to share. I've had a lot of health issues when I was in corporate as a result of stress, and I downplayed it. And it was also for me a woman's circle that had me crack open wide, because the minute I walked in there, I started bawling my eyes out and I couldn't stop. And for me, being in a very masculine space for so long, I always keep referring to, I was so far up my yang, I had no yin. And that was before I started learning about integrating my feminine back into my daily life, because we can do a lot. And even as mothers, it's not, we nurture, but it's not an actual feminine energy. It is masculine because we're constantly doing. And your opening line said that a space just to be, that really had my sacral chakra do the cha-cha, because that is so important, that we just stop and allow ourselves to breathe. And I think the last 2 years have shown the world, and women in particular, that we don't need to be in a space for 8 hours straight at between certain times to work. And I think the freedom to express that in other forms without, and I don't like to use the word productivity per se, but without work suffering, we can design a life that is much more aligned and much more conscious. And it feels much better.
I love that. I love that your sacral did a cha-cha. First of all, That's
I'm a
amazing.
manifesting generator. For those who do work with human design, I'm a manifesting generator. So anything that hits my sacral has a response.
I love that. I really like that. Yeah, I'm a full one mental projector. I'm very much in my head. But I can feel I have all my open centers, so I'm very sensitive. And
Yeah.
you put in some really good points there. This work-life balance, the need to perform against certain rules and rule books, and how do you say, like, SOPs of life and business, right?
Yeah.
That we are now, we're questioning and we're challenging and we're breaking down and we're finding new ways, and this is really a beautiful time and space to be in, where we are taking these decisions, and ultimately we're leading the way for others to
Mm.
to follow and find their alignment and find their way of living a successful, fulfilling, purpose-led life, and also through business.
Yeah.
I love that. I would love to hear from our man in the room. Jody, are you there? Maybe not. Or Claudia, are you with us? Would love to hear from you.
Yes, hi, I can jump in. So yeah, I love this conversation. I absolutely love it. So I'm in just to introduce, I'm in the retreat bubble world since about 17 years, but I used to be in the media. And I just love this whole conversation around how do we do leadership differently? How do we lead ourselves? How do we lead with each other instead of top down? And I think it was Karen and Tina who were addressing this. It's just an unsafe environment when there's this stress on people to always look up, and then the one at the top is feels unsafe too, because they could be knocked off their pedestal at any moment. So the way that I've been working the last, I guess, I would say the last 10 years, because I've had to discover this myself. It wasn't because I took some course or because I know more and more people are luckily talking about it now, but it was really by finding out how to do it differently. And generator, by the way, pure generator, 5-1. So a lot of projection, a lot of investigation too. And I have a lot of 4s in my chart, so a networker. I love human design. I use it in everything I do. But yeah, so I had to find out really through trial and error, which is line 3. I had to find out through trial and error how to do it, because I was always telling myself the story. I don't want to be a manager. I'm not a leader, because I'd had such a bad example within the media of how not to do it. So that was the last thing I wanted to do. And I sort of shyly slipped into having to be the leader of a huge team, because the retreats started to grow and grow. I have a specific niche, or I have for the last 10 years, of doing retreats for mums and kids. So I was not advertising. I was filling 13 retreats a year with like 20 participants just by people finding me, because I was filling a massive gap in the market. So suddenly I was growing, and I had this huge team of at least as many people as were coming, and was like, oh my God, now I have to really do leadership in a way that everyone feels safe, everyone feels seen and heard. And so I introduced women's circles, and we'd have team meetings every day in circle, and the shy ones got to say something, and it was often the observers, the shy ones, who actually had the answers. So I think this has come up before, like, we need to listen to our clients, we need to listen to people, we need to really include everyone, and that is a different kind of leadership. It's compassionate, it's reciprocal, it's integrated, it's circular, it's, conscious. It's just, it's the way forward, and I do believe it's the only way forward. And when corporate structures start to understand this, and I know some do, yeah, things will change. And I've actually shifted the focus now also of my masterminds to include people from corporate and solopreneurs, because I think you mentioned this right at the beginning, Hannah. It's this cross-industry insemination that is really how we shift the dial, because we all come from different perspectives and have different stories and different ways to see things. And when we can, it's like it might be slower to make changes. It's not like someone goes, now we do this, and eventually you have to come to some consensus. And this is why Swiss democracy is so slow. You can see I've got a Swiss flag. I'm actually in Spain, grew up in England, but I am Swiss too. So yeah, so there's I mean, I could, you can see I'm going on. I have a lot to say about this subject. So, and Hannah, I adore you, because we know each other, of course, from a mastermind container, and I adore you, and I wish you really amazing time in the last bits of your pregnancy. And yeah, so thank you for starting up this conversation here.
Oh, you're gonna make me cry. The hormones are flooding. That was such a beautiful share, Claudia, and I am honored really to have you here. There's so much that you've mentioned that just resonates so much with what I've experienced myself and what I'm seeing again in the corporate industry. That wobbly, it feels like a very wobbly tower when everyone at the bottom is feeling insecure and unsafe, and even the people at the top are feeling insecure and unsafe. It's like everything is based then on lack and fear. Everyone is showing up to their job. Everyone is showing up in their life from lack and fear. We're constantly in this in the tension and pressure of what if this leaves, or what if this goes, and what if, so that no wonder, going back to Tina's, dog eat dog, lone wolf, competitive sort of nature that we've been experiencing in the business world, but it's also being infiltrated into the space of solo entrepreneurship and coaching and consulting, and I'm seeing so much of this happening right now. That, yeah, this gives me a lot more sort of validation for what we are doing here today, for what this is all about. And really, as you said, so beautiful, Claudia, that it's normally the shy observers who sit in the corner of the room who are the ones with the answers, who are the ones with the insights, who are the ones with the experiences that could have massive impact on other people's lives and businesses and whatever area. And in fact, this is, for those of you who are listening perhaps in the replay, this is the invitation. This is your invitation to come and take up space in a safe space, to come and share your voice, to come and share your opinions, to come and share your thoughts. Yeah, this is the purpose of what Conscious Leaders in Business Club, or whatever you want to call it. Don't like to call it a club, but we're on Clubhouse. We'll call it a club. And this is what the space is all about. Anyone else wants to share something? I'm just going to check the comments.
Actually, I just want to piggyback that, because this human design theme came up, and I think and also this hustle culture and striving and pushing, and I think this is where this is the paradigm shift, where we're seeing that we all have different energies and energy types, and one isn't better than the other. And I think the problem is that everyone's been conditioned to try and fit into this worker box, where even then, like speaking as a generator, I'm here to respond. So I'm constantly responding to everything all the time, which is why I move fast. But because I move so fast, I don't necessarily see the bigger picture. Whereas someone, like you said, the shy ones, or I like to call projectors New Earth guides, because my kids, all three of them, are projectors. And I'm seeing also how parenting differently, when you know that your kids, it's like you're giving them the freedom to be who they are. And when you have the freedom to be who you really are, and you accept yourself the way you are, you also accept others. So there's no trying to make anyone do anything or be any way than themselves. And then, we don't even have to tell anyone or be bossy or dominant. It's like we just all do ourselves, and each person leads themselves. And this is where responsibility comes in, because when you lead yourself, you take responsibility for your words, your actions, everything. And that, it's actually, there are systems already here that are giving us really good tools to implement this. It's not just, oh, let's all be in a happy bubble where we're sitting in a circle sharing the talking stick and we're just talking. This is actually possible, and I've seen it and I see it daily when I work with women and when I work with the retreat. So yeah, thank you. I just wanted to add that because I think it's important that we understand this is not just blah blah. We can do this.
Oh, I love that. I really love that. And as a projector myself, I'm not sure it's a projector thing. It could be many aspects, obviously. But I did feel the struggle throughout my life where I was forcing myself to fit in. And the question here is, why do we try to fit in so badly when we were actually made to uniquely and boldly stand out? There's just this fear of standing out. There's this misunderstanding of what that standing out could be. And as you rightly said, I think I'm here. I'm mixing. I'm trying to connect the dots, as you can probably feel me. I'm very, I'm very much in my head right now, trying to make all of these connections. But that point that you mentioned of, my dog also wants to say something. That point you mentioned about that self-awareness, that self-acceptance, acceptance, self-acceptance. When you start to accept who you are and you start to accept what you came here to do, then you are giving yourself also that permission to stand out. You're giving yourself the permission to take up space. You're giving yourself the permission to share your voice. And I think for me, this has been the biggest struggle because I was always seeking the permission from outside. And as soon as I gave it to myself, things just became so much easier. And there was so less restriction, less struggle with showing up and standing out. Yeah,
I
Tina.
love that. The permission. That is for me one of the key things why as women we hold back, because we have, and this is, I'm all about the voice. I've had my own struggle for well over 3 decades, actually, being taking up space, being all that I am. And that is the key for the younger generation to really embody that a lot earlier, and coming home and being at home in their bodies and with themselves. Because if you don't give yourself permission, you do not go after what you really want. And I think as women, we have denied that we are not linear. And for me, it was coming home to accepting that I'm cyclical. I'm not supposed to be the same person every day. I cannot be consistent with my energy, and the entire system, especially in corporate, which is why women burn out much quicker and much harder than some of the men do, is because we're trying to be consistent with everything that we do. And if we allow ourselves to consciously work with our cycle and the energetic ups and downs that we have, then we can perform in business much more in with integrity to ourselves and with alignment, and we can be better mothers and wives and better companions to ourselves, because we hold an integrity, we grounded, and we can't be messed with. And I think as soon as you catch a glimpse of that, you hold all that power inside of you and you become embodied, then things shift and things change, because you do not say yes to everything. And this is the people pleasing that is so prevalent, that, oh, what if I say no, and I can't possibly. We're very quick to say yes, but saying no with conviction is a key to really rise into a consciousness where we honor ourselves at the core. So permission is big for me. Thank you for bringing that up.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. I think this is this is all super important and relevant to the way we as conscious leaders are leading the way through integrity, through authentically sharing our voice. Because if going back to the fitting in, how can we call ourselves conscious leaders if we're constantly trying to fit into the to the rule books of someone else? And it's how we're leading ourselves through these changes, through the transitions, um, to do that and share our voice authentically, to share our voice that is not always about what's in it for me, but what's in it for us, right? Coming back to these core aspects that everyone has been mentioning here today. Oh, what a beautiful conversation, ladies. Anyone would like to add anything before we close the session up?
Yeah, hi. It's
Ah,
Jody here.
where are you? I can't see you.
Wow, yeah, I'm here.
Here you are.
Just had, yeah, it's been really nice, interesting, activating to listen to everyone so far and just kind of feel into these experiences, ideas, and concepts and kind of, yeah, feel into where I sit with it all and where I stand. And it's a constant, for me, it's a constant journey of exploration in that sense of discovery. And I'm a 4/6 reflector. So, yeah, I'm a bit different. And yeah, so it's funny because I wanted to mention the context as well for coming on this because Hannah and we did some coaching. Was it a couple of years ago now? Yeah. And then yeah, and I've been following you, Hannah, and then I've been really, enjoying what you share and like on the interwebs, and then more recently we kind of reconnected and stuff, and then I saw that you posted about coming on this conscious leadership room, and it's Clubhouse is somewhere where I've been playing around a little bit in the last few months, and but yesterday I was on a 3-hour call with a couple of lovely human beings who run something called the Conscious Enterprise Network, and there was a conference last year around conscious organizations, and so I gave a presentation. I was asked or invited to give a presentation about conscious leadership, which I did, and it was really cool and well received, and I really enjoyed it. And it's a kind of theme that I've been thinking around for a while, and I don't profess to be some kind of great expert in it at all. I'm just coming from the perspective of, like, what do I know about leading and how one can express truth and live in an aligned way through leading. And that for me is ultimately coming from the heart. It's with respect for all life. It's yes, it's this sense of communication as well, and interaction, and it's not just like one way, a one way street. And so I wrote was it 15? Yeah, 15 principles around this. I wrote an article about it, and um yeah, my mind's a little bit slow this morning, but the it's out there on the interwebs, and I'm fascinated, eternally fascinated by this. And it's for me, it feels like it's very much about the meta level of looking at things in terms of principles, and then we can like apply them then to a situation, a relationship, an organization, a country, whatever it is. And of course, I feel like one of the reasons we're all doing this is because we are very cognizant of this world where there is so much toxic uh, energy which is masquerading as leadership, and it's like the blind leading the blind. And it's like, yeah, no, this is not what's going to work for the new earth and for the new paradigm reality which we want to see, we want to co-create. And so that's the kind of perspective I'm coming from. And I feel like my sense of my experiences around positive models for leadership have been around some mentors I've had, and then just above and beyond that, just like, what did I do that worked, that was healthy and in flow, that had an effect on others, whether that was leaning into my creativity, or that was coming out as a reflector online, or um, coming out as kind of multidimensionally aware to my Facebook community and talking about this stuff, kind of taking that risk of being just really out there, as a light worker, as a healer, as whatever label you want to call it, just like me flowing my energy, and just being true and honest with how I perceive reality, and channeling, or light language, or whatever it is, and just allowing that to happen, and not self-censoring. And so it's like kind of this authenticity of expression, and meeting on that edge with the open heart space and the inclusive space, and the working with intuitive intelligence, and with desire and intention to have the best boss rather the best possible outcome for all involved. So yeah, that's where I am.
Thank you so much, Jody. I'm really happy that you jumped in because I did not see you there. I don't know what happened. I'm so glad you're here, and oh, really beautiful share. And there are some words that you mentioned that just tie in so well together as to why we're creating these spaces, and why I decided, for example, to open up this space. Because it comes back to the fact, it comes back to the point of moving away from I into we. It comes back to the doing things with curiosity, right? I'm no expert in leadership myself, but I'm here as well, like I think everyone else is, and understands that this is an ongoing journey, this is an ongoing discovery process, right?
Mm.
That is
Yeah, well, you
inclusive.
are. I mean, you are absolutely fundamentally embodying leadership by creating this space. That's how I
Mhm.
see it.
Mm. Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate your story and what you've shared, and it's no coincidence that you were just speaking on this yesterday, and we reconnected again.
No,
Um,
there are no coincidences.
Exactly. 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 But you did just mention intuitive intelligence as well. I love that. And this brings me back to the point of, like, all of these things that we've been sharing today are all rooted down into co-creation, whether that is co-creation with source or spirit or whoever you walk with, or whether that's with people in your space or complete new strangers like we're coming in today. Some of us know each other. Perhaps I'm a common factor right now, but as we continue to grow these spaces, as we continue to invite and welcome other people into the spaces, there's going to be just this beautiful collaboration and co-creation that we don't get sitting by ourselves behind our laptops.
That's so true. It's this energy of this co-creation that I feel is so important coming to the fore right now, particularly
Yeah.
with anyone who's called towards this path of service, kind of servant leadership, and this inclusive embodying of expression and authenticity and whatever that manifests in terms of our purpose and our purpose is, and how that. So this is just, yeah, a wonderful example of what we were all speaking about. And yeah, I say aho to that and I bow down to that.
100%. And Jody, please feel free to share with me the article where you wrote the 15 principles of conscious leadership. I'd love to have a copy of that and share it. Yeah.
Yeah, I shall do. It's funny actually because I kind of wrote the article and I spoke at this conference last year, and it's like sort of felt quite lofty and unquantifiable, the impact of that or the importance or significance of that. And but when I spoke to these two yesterday, Esther and Dominic, who kind of the creators of the Conscious Enterprises Network, which is basically the conscious leadership journey. That's what they're kind of leaning into. They said, yeah, like your talk was so so impactful for me, and da da da. And then I read your thing, your article, and I really loved it, and all this sort of stuff. And you can kind of put stuff out there online, and you might get a few likes, and that's it, right? That's all the feedback you ever get about it. And then so it was really nice to just hear something back and receive that. It was like a kind of a hug from the universe. And
Mm.
it was just like, wow, I do have something to share that has value, because obviously the negative self-talk, these lurking ogres in the background of the mind, who are internalized critics and why don't you fit in kind of energy, and what have you made of yourself, and you're not enough, and all those kind of voices in the theater of the mind can be very active around putting stuff down and stifling creativity and energy. And so it's just wonderful to big each other up and give credit where credit's due, and to hear and receive positive feedback about our thoughts, our work, our sharings and our creativity and our offerings in the world. And this is also why I'm just kind of I'm here as well, because it's like I'm meeting that energy and in this talk right now. And when you posted about it, I just literally got off that call with them, and I was like, yes to this. Like, I'm meeting this energy and saying yes. It's like, yes, I opened. This is fully aligned with who I am. So, and I'm just an explorer. I'm just a discoverer and a student here. So that's where I'm coming from.
I love that. I love that. I love that. It is actually, as you were talking, it reminded me of Don Miguel Ruiz's 4 agreements, where one of them says, "Don't make assumptions." And I think this is something as creators, because we're also creating, right? Like you said, you wrote this article, or you prepared this presentation, or you prepared this post, and we make assumptions on whether that's good enough, whether that's received, whether people like us, and all of these things based on these metrics like likes and follows and comments. And it just reminded me of don't make assumptions, because there is someone who is watching in the background and is benefiting from that value that you're creating and you're putting out there in the world, right? So a reminder for those of us who are feeling like nothing is working and nobody likes my stuff and where are my people, and always keep trusting, don't take things personally, don't make assumptions, always do your
That's so,
best.
yeah, it's that.
Be impeccable with your work. So I go back to
Thank
for
you.
these 4 agreements also in my marketing and creation side of the business, aside from the self-awareness, right, and development.
Mm.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God, this is so exciting. My heart is full right now. I'm tearing up with I'm
Mm.
tearing up with joy actually of having done this and having such a beautiful share with everyone who contributed. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. I know that we've just been discussing how you never know the impact this is going to have on others. There is the replay on. We are going to use it. I will share it with you. Let's spread the word. And I look forward to co-creating and having more of these conversations with you in the near future. Thank you so much for being part of this.
Thank
Thank you
you,
for
Hannah.
holding the space.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Hannah. It was
Hannah.
great.
Thank you and best wishes. Have a beautiful weekend, everyone. I'll be hosting these rooms every Friday at 10 a.m. Central European time, or at least for now, that is the intention. Before the baby arrives, and I might need to reschedule some things, but for now, that 10 a.m. every Friday, and I'll be notifying you through my socials, or you can get notified by email if you prefer to get notified by email or discuss ways in which we can collaborate on a deeper level. I will be organizing panel discussions, expert talks, featured talks. So if you have any ideas, you want to co-create something together, you want to co-host, you want to lead, you want to speak, you want to share some expertise and wisdom, please do get in touch with me, and I'm open to all of that. So thank you so much for being here and co-creating with me. Ciao for now.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.